The obsession with becoming a better person is actually the thing holding you back. Now, let me explain. I'm not saying you should just give up on everything. I'm talking about this constant push of self-help content on YouTube, TikTok, telling you that you should be better, you should be doing more, you should fix this. You know, the catchphrase, become a better version of yourself. And if you've ever watched a self-improvement video or read about optimizing productivity, what have you, the advice given can feel like the key to solving all of your problems. But why are we so concerned about improvement? We are the only creatures that need to see direction. Everything has to lead somewhere or has to be categorized. Yet, a tree doesn't care that it's a tree, a cat doesn't care that it's a cat, and a bird doesn't care about it being a bird. Yet we're so evolved, so we have to be different, right? We inherently categorize the world morally into good and bad. For example, heaven and hell, cultured and uncultured, productive or unproductive. And the same thing goes for self-improvement. To strive for it is considered a good thing. But if you don't, oh, that's bad. Yet, this makes no sense. Because in some worldviews, to escape this valuation is more akin to enlightenment. There's nihilism, which rebels against values completely, which in of itself is also a value, but that's beside the point. The point I'm trying to make is that inherently there's no escaping values. Our existence is shaped by them. So, again, why do we want improvement? And my answer is from my interpretation of existentialism. We are wired for self-consciousness. You know, we're not just aware of the world, we're aware of ourselves in it, which is both a blessing and a curse. This awareness leads to something called an existential responsibility, which for some people can be an existential dread. In this case, we can become aware of our flaws, and we can feel responsibility to address these flaws. You could even argue that it is a survival instinct meets a social instinct. If I am better, I'll belong, and if I belong, I'll be safe. And the self-help industry knows that, and it sells you improvement the same way a business wants you to buy their product. It's not for your satisfaction, but to make money. The trap with self-improvement gurus is typically the following. They don't talk about growth, they talk about change. Now, which one do you think sells more? Change says, who you are now isn't enough. Become someone else. Growth says, deepen your understanding of yourself. Give yourself time to learn. The former preys on people's guilt, a dramatic sales pitch promising quick results like you're reinventing yourself from scratch. And this tactic, this weaponizes your existential responsibility. If you don't want to improve, you are a bad person. But if this change actually worked, we would have solved pretty much most social issues, like addiction. But in reality, what happens if a person gets sober in rehab through changing their habits and all that, they relapse immediately after returning to their original environment. Because we're a product of our environment. Our lives are shaped by our environment and the values that they've taught us. Change forgets that. So, how is self-improvement any different? Now, as you can probably tell at this point, I believe it's better to seek growth instead. Find a way to make peace with the arbitrary conditions that you were born with, the environment and values that helped shape you and your perception of the world. Reconcile with the people you're close with, cut ties with those who don't have good intentions at heart. And to go back to my earlier example, a person who has overcome their addiction has done all of the above, and they can even grow beyond their current plot, and so can you. But do know that if you don't unpack the baggage you carry, it will follow you anywhere. And in time, it will recreate your misery. Now, unironically, like that, I'm becoming more and more of a self-improvement guru myself. The irony isn't lost on me here. But to finish off, is self-improvement good? Self-improvement, I believe, can be good. The underlying idea that you can improve, that you have intrinsic potential, and because of that, value, is without a doubt a positive thing. I think that the popularization of psychology and it becoming more accessible over time in general is a benefit to everyone as well. A book that opens your eyes, great. A habit that makes your mornings calmer, amazing. It doesn't need to be big things. It can be in small things as well. But when every day becomes a performance review, you've completely missed the point. And that's where I'll leave it for this video. Thanks for watching.